So here is the other truth about those mean voices in our heads. They're so different than even what we have thought them to be. Like the accuracy of what planted them there is not even true. And that our belief systems can completely destabilize us and make us think something is true when it isn't true. Welcome to the world of energy, where science meets spirit. Ancient wisdom merges with cutting-edge knowledge, and the possibilities for a healthier, happier you are endless. Hi, welcome back to another episode of Energy Works. And I think that Lauren and I have a fun topic today. I'll just say hi to Lauren.
Blaine.
Hi, Lauren. Before I just jump in and go on with all the talking. Recently we have a membership program, a yoga classes membership program, and we teach yoga classes there every week. And a few weeks ago, I taught a yoga class entitled Quieting the Inner Critic. And after that class, I had the most comments, people either commenting right on the platform about how much they enjoyed the class because they have such a strong inner critic, or people sending me emails, or people who know my phone number sending me text messages about how much they resonated with this inner critic idea and how they feel like it holds them back. It's debilitating, it's suffering, it makes their days not as happy, and that they really wish that they could quiet the inner critic. And so they were appreciative that I taught a yoga class and discussed that it is in fact a thing and they are not alone. And so if you're listening or watching this podcast and you have an inner critic, you are not alone. It is a thing that many of us have. Some of us, it just happens to be a little louder, and other people not as loud. So Lauren and I were discussing this topic, and she has some experiences with her own inner critic that she has been maybe ruminating on a little bit. She's mentioned it to me more than once, one thing in particular. So we thought we would just bring it out into the open and share our experiences, and then what an energetic tool that we can use to help us with it. Is that pause my turn now? I gotta talk.
Okay. So it's a fascinating topic, and it started. Well, Blaine taught that class, and then we started talking about it, and so now we've kind of talked a lot, endlessly, about this inner critic idea. And I think you're going to be kind of excited where we wind around to at the end, because we just had a discovery together preparing for this podcast that was pretty startling. And I think you're all going to resonate with it when we get to it. So my piece of it came up because I wanted to redo something. So, we have the spin-off podcast called Cool People, Big Ideas, where I get to interview people. And I love it. It's just been so fun. I've gotten to interview some really amazing people in my life, and more to come, because it's one of my favorite things to do. And so when I had to record the first intro for the first podcast of this spin-off series was with Sebastian Junger. And I mean, I'm not going to lie, I was fangirling out on the opportunity that I had to meet him and to interview him, because in my world, in my mind, he's huge. Like, he's huge. He's a New York Times bestselling author. He's, nominated for Academy Award for a film that he did. Like, it just goes on and on and on and on. And he's absolutely brilliant. And there were so many things that went on in his life that had parallels to the life that I had lived, that I got to ask him these questions. Anyway, it was just amazing. I really enjoyed that podcast. So then I had to do the intro to the podcast, and here we got to of this inner critic, because I don't ever use notes. I don't use what are those things where the words go by on the page, or you can see them a teleprompter. For
Teleprompter.
everything is off the cuff. I rarely plan what I'm going to say. If you take classes with me, you'll see I have notes, but I really I kind of tune in. I tune into the field, and I just let whatever flows through me. And so I did this intro to this podcast. And I remember when I was doing it, my mind kind of went blank in the middle of doing this intro. Now, we could have re-recorded it. I could have said at the moment, hey, Blaine, let's redo this. But I was already halfway through it and time was of the essence. And so I froze in the middle of it and then just kind of said some things and then kept going. Now, if you're listening to that intro, you probably like, oh, whatever. But in my mind, I go back to that moment where I have to admit it right here in front of everybody. I got to just say it and get it off my chest. I said something like, I'm so excited for this first spin-off podcast, Cool People, Big Ideas. I'm interviewing Sebastian Younger, da, 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 da. And then I said, it's so embarrassing. I love interviewing people. Here's where my mind went blank. What do I say next? And instead of like saying something smart or wise or funny or whatever, I just said, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And then I just went on to the rest of the thing. And I go back in my mind over that. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've asked Blaine, like, could we redo that? Now it's up and it's out and it's published. And it would take such an effort to like take that down and strip it off and refill. It would just be, but in my head, I just sound so stupid and so inarticulate and so fangirly and just everything. And so I've got this inner critic saying, you're lame, you shouldn't be podcasting, you shouldn't do it the way you're doing it, everything you do is wrong, everybody is laughing at you. You know, podcasting is a big thing now. There's so many people out there, everybody's better than you. Why are you even doing this? You suck. So I'm just going to leave it there for a second. But that's how we circled back to let's talk about this, because that inner voice has been so loud and very specific. And I keep sharing it with Blaine and like, help me, please. Do I have to just let this go? And so we'll get to what we have decided to do with this. But that's how my inner critic kept showing up very viscerally. And then Blaine's going to share a little bit of her inner critic so that it's not just me explaining my inner lameness, because that's what it really feels like. It feels so lame. And I hate that feeling. I hate feeling lame. So there it is. I admitted it. Thanks. Blaine, you're up.
I love it. Thanks. Thank you for the opportunity.
So bad.
Oh, goodness. One of the things we've been reflecting on, because we actually do a little bit of preparation for these podcasts. We have some idea what we're going to say, but usually it is because of multiple conversations. Either we've been having for years or we've been having recently or something like that. And then something will pop up like this class and the popularity of the theme in the feedback that I received. I do seem to think, based on our conversations and even, some of the women who gave me feedback, I know some of them pretty well, some of them not as well, but the root cause or the nature or the tone of the inner critic does seem to have a unique quality per person. And I am not a psychologist or even an armchair psychologist or anything like that. But, both you and I have talked about some childhood stuff being the root of where we think ours came from. And so I think it's a little bit, if you know 5 people, then they probably have 5 different types of inner critic. I think everybody has their own flavor of what the voice is telling you. When I became aware of my voice, I named it the mean voice in my head. And that's not like I'm the only person who's ever said that, but that just became, when I would journal, I would say the mean voice in my head is telling me. And I just, somewhere I probably picked up those words from someplace. And I was like, oh my God, that's what I have, a mean voice in my head, and have continued to run with that. And when I tell my story, I talk about the mean voice in my head being so debilitating and really affecting my mental health. And for a long time, I didn't know there was any other way, that I am not my thoughts, that I could actually do something about it. It was just a part of me, and it always had been. And it manifested as just me being very hard on myself. I've just always been, even back in junior high basketball, I was very competitive. And if I screwed something up in the game or I, missed the shot or whatever, I would just cry and cry and cry. I mean, I took it so hard and so personally, way beyond the other girls, and how hard and personally they would take mistakes or something like that. And I did a lot of team sports. And so, my mistakes affect other people, affect the outcome. And man, and the mean voice in my head just wouldn't shut up, and how I could have done it differently. And it's all my fault. And I messed it up for everyone. And I need to get up early in the morning, and I need to do more drills, and I need to stay and practice later. And I need to practice my free throws 100 more after everybody else goes home. And I think it was just my way of grasping at some kind of control. What are the things I can do to make these things I don't like keep happening? And it's all fallacy, right? That I can control everything. And if I just work harder or do more, then somehow, everything will always go perfect. And I shared with Lauren that I was raised not to diss on my parents, because at the surface, this makes a ton of sense. I was a woman who was raised, you can do anything. You can be president. You can be a doctor. I mean, there's no limits, Blaine. You are smart, you are capable, and you can do anything you want to do. You can do, be anything you want to be. The only thing that would stop you is if you didn't work hard enough. And so I really somehow grabbed onto this work hard enough. And so if anything ever went wrong, it's because I didn't work hard enough. And that was always the mean voice in my head, right? That somehow there would have been a different outcome if only I had worked harder. And that is, what I, through meditation and yoga philosophy and all that. I mean, now I see reality, and now I see that is not true. But man, I internalized that really deeply.
I mean, you said you think it comes from childhood, but I think we can go beyond that and say it is from childhood, right? And so Bruce Lipton and others, but you and I study his work, really talks about that all of the things that aren't working in your life. And I would say that the mean voices in your head are one of them, because it's telling you a lie, right? It's telling you that you're responsible for everything, or it's telling me that I'm horrible because I, did this thing, or they're lies, but they come from our childhood and how we were programmed. And I use that word, intentionally, because we really are programmed by the continued effects of our caregivers, right? So your parents saying to you, your only thing that could stop you is you not working hard enough. Well, first of all, we know that that's not true. There's many other forces at play. It's not just you and your work ethic, right? And they were thinking they're building a good work ethic. And on some level, they were right. You've got one of the most amazing work ethics of anyone I know. But yet now hearing this other side of that work ethic breaks my heart for you, that you shoulder that burden, that everything's your fault, and all of that. That's a huge deficit that I think your parents probably didn't take that into consideration, thinking that that's what was coming out, right?
Right. I have a brother who I'm sure got the same message, and I don't think he has this problem at all.
Yeah, that's interesting. We might do it. We should do a siblings episode at some point. That could be crazy. But so I had a similar thing growing up, that my dad used to say to me, you can be anything. That was what he led with, but you can be the best. You can be the best, whatever it is you set your mind to, you'll be the best at it if you set your mind to it. And so what that always put in my head is, I have to be the best, so that it's not okay that I'm a writer, but I have to be the best writer. It's not enough that I'm a yoga teacher. I have to be the best yoga teacher. It's not enough that I have a podcast that's really helping people and that people really enjoy. I have to have the best podcast. And so here I am doing this podcast, and I do something that in my calculation is not the best, where I sound like silly or lame. They keep using the word lame because that keeps coming up for me. And so I'm not the best. And so then I just beat myself up over and over again. And how can I take it back? How could I change it? How could I be better? Because I have to be the best. I have to be the best. I have to be the best. These voices that are really ultimately so incredibly destructive. So then in our research, because we do research for these shows, I'm not saying that we're not prepared. I'm just saying that a lot of it is like, then we kind of open up and tap in, which is actually a huge level of preparation to be able to open to the field, right? So here's what we did. So I said to Blaine, my dad always, he always thought he was going to die young, and he did in fact die young. He died at 49. And he used to write a letter to each of his children every year on his birthday because he thought he was going to die and he wanted to leave us these letters. So, that's all lovely for what it is. And so I have one of these letters, which I think is the last letter he wrote because then he died. But he said, because I was trying to prove to Blaine, I'm like, this is what my dad did to me. He told me I was going to be the best. And so that's what always in my head. This is what he actually wrote. Whether you want to write or act or sing or dance or draw or make yogurt, you can. He didn't say I had to be the best dancer, the best singer, or the best yogurt maker. He just said that he wanted me to have the freedom to pursue your dreams. Whether you want to write or act or sing or dance or draw or make yogurt, you can. I literally was this years old before I remembered reading that. And so that's entirely different than what this mean voice in my head has been saying for years. So here is the other truth about those mean voices in our heads. They're so different than even what we have thought them to be. Like the accuracy of what planted them there is not even true. And that our belief systems can completely destabilize us and make us think something is true when it isn't true. I don't have to be the best podcaster. I just have to be my best podcaster. And Blaine, I want to ask you to share this again from the Bhagavad Gita, because when you just shared it a little bit ago, I thought it was really resonant, because part of being the best, right, is in comparison to what? Which means you're comparing yourself to every other singer or dancer or writer or yoga teacher or podcaster, because you're only in relationship, right? Everything is in relationship to everything else. And so then you're in comparative land, and then nothing, very little good can come out of that. Blaine, share with us the wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita.
I will. I want to say one thing first, though. I don't have a lecture like that, but I believe it is entirely possible that I was told one time that I could, and somehow I just took that in as spoken from God or something, and let it define everything about me. It definitely, I don't know if it was told to me 5 times, 10 times, 1 time, but I can 100% believe that as a child, maybe I was told that once and I just gripped onto it with my life. I don't, again, is it a lie? I mean, it is a lie, but is even my recollection of its weight a lie?
Yes. And I think it would be really interesting at some point to get into like the things that we believe that then create our belief systems, because a belief is just one thing. Then you have a whole system of beliefs that is how you operate in this world. And oftentimes those beliefs are not true. And so you're operating from a place of distortion of your own being. And that can be incredibly disruptive and detox and toxic, really. We need a detox from that. It's so, this is a total tangent. And we're going to get back to the Bhagavad Gita, but I just have to say this because I've been thinking about it a lot, of what you believe and what is true. And so last night I was outside on this little hill and watching the sunset, and I took my glasses off because I like to kind of be in what my actual vision is, which is blurry. And so then I turned around and I was like, is that a bear over there? It could very well be a bear. And it couldn't actually be a bear. I live in bear country. It could very well be a bear. And my body started to react. Not terrified, because I'm not terrified if I see a bear, but I'm not also neutral. I have a reaction that there is a bear 20 feet away from me. So I pulled my glasses up off of the ground and I put my glasses off, and no, it was definitely not a bear. It was not even close to being a bear. But for that moment, my body believed that it was a bear. And so for me, it was a bear. It was a bear because I believed it. My body believed it. And what am I going to do? My bear spray was in the house. Why was I even this far from the house without my bear spray? All of this was going on. It was not a bear. So what we believe has a physical effect on us. It is not just like, oh, I thought that and it wasn't true. Okay. It has a cascade of chemicals through the body that prepared me if this was a bear. All of that happened and it wasn't a bear. So what you believe really has a radical implication for your life. Okay, now the Bhagavad Gita.
Mm-hmm. So many directions we could go with that. Those lenses we see things through or not. Yeah, so the Bhagavad Gita, I'm going to butcher this a little bit because I don't have the book in front of me here, but Lauren and I were talking about this. But the gist of the verse is, instead of being the second best version of somebody else, be the first best version of yourself. And I do. I've carried that since I've learned that. And when I find myself in that comparison mode, which, we all can find ourselves in, like, do I want to be the second best version of her or the first best version of me?
Yeah, I love that. It's just like truth. That's just a truth bomb, right? That's just a truth bomb right there. And I think when I've gone over that little podcast blip, and obviously that's just like a little glimmer of something. It's not the only thing that I harp on myself for, but it was very visceral, and maybe some of you have heard it, so you know what I'm talking about. But when I go back over that and I think, should I redo it? Should I, cause all this kerfluffle in the company to redo it? Why do I need to redo it? And what I really think is, here's a double edge. The truth is, that really is me. I really am a little bit fangirling out. I really am super excited about doing these podcasts. I really do I'm saying it right here. I love interviewing people. It is one of the best things that I do in this company. I adore doing it. And so the truth is that I feel a little sheepish at how I can seem a little maybe not professional, or just kind of, I gotta just say it, just myself. Like, I'm not this polished, produced person. I mean, if you see this now, you can see, like, if you're watching, I've got these little pieces of hair that are sticking up in like very strange, it kind of looks like antenna. Like, I don't do anything about that. That's just who I am. And I've come to the place mostly of acceptance and love for who I am and all of my little quirks. And so in the best of times, I can say, well, I'm just quirky and fun and cute, and that's who I am, and I love who I am, and that's okay, and that's enough. And then sometimes I listen to that and I'm like, oh, I just want to like hide under the covers. I'm so lame. And so I think what we're going to do is share a little technique for some of you. I know a lot of you do affirmations, and we do affirmations as well in energy medicine yoga. But we want to teach you, I want to teach you this thing that is going to make your energy work for you. Do you see that? Do you catch that little thing? In a different way than just doing affirmations. Because the problem with just doing affirmations is those voices in your head are generally much stronger than your affirmation. So your affirmation is, I'm a great podcaster. But the voice in your head is, you kind of cheesy sometimes. And then your voice says, I really love myself. And then there's a voice, except when you do those things that you kind of think are cheesy, right? So you've got this interplay going on in your head. you're trying to affirm something, but then these inner critics, these inner voices are shooting them down left and right, left and right. No, you're not good. You're not worthy. You're not this. You're not that. You're not. I'm going to tell you the truth, says mean inner voice. I'm going to tell you how it is. And so then you're like, well, affirmations don't work. And often in that way, they don't work. But if you can imagine if you could take that inner critic, that inner mean voice, and just say for a minute, I'm not even sure you're real. So just for a minute. And while that inner critic then kind of quiets down and is like, oh, what's going on here? Why is she talking to me like that? And then you put in the affirmation, I'm amazing. I love myself. I'm worthy. I'm healthy. I'm strong. Whatever it is that you want to have as your affirmation, you insert that affirmation into the hard drive, the operating system of you. Then when that little voice comes back online, it's a little bit quieter. And now that affirmation that you put in by doing this energy technique has taken hold more strongly and more firmly rooted in the belief system of you. Did I line that up okay, Blaine?
I think that sounds great. And I know what it is and I know what's happening energetically. So I think you described it perfectly.
Awesome. Cool. So I don't want to kind of belabor too much of what's going on there, but what I will say is this, and I think we've talked about it before on our podcast, because we're going to have to do a whole podcast on triple warmer sometime, but there is actually an energy system in your body that keeps your habits to you. And that mean inner voice is a habit. It's just a habit. So there's a way already right there to kind of take some of its power away. It's just a habit. Just like you have a habit of walking one way to work or to school every day, it's just a habit. You have a habit of the way you brush your teeth or the way you make your hot drink in the morning. It's a habit, and you can change habits. This is the powerful piece. And so this system, we're going to just quiet it down for a moment. And then we're going to do a hold on the body that actually helps to insert your affirmation into the unconscious mind, which is the operating system of you. You don't wake up in the morning and think, heart, you should start beating a little bit faster now because now I'm awake. It just does that. It does that because it gets a little cortisol squirt and because the sun has come up and all of these things happening, and you don't have to do a thing. That's your unconscious body working. Same way you get in your car and you drive away, you don't have to be like, wait, where does the key go? Because you've done it a million times. And so we want to take this affirmation and make that be the same way as how you get in your car and you drive away. You get in your body and you drive away because you're like, I'm awesome today. And that's just not something that you have to like remind yourself, because it becomes part of the system and you just operate from your awesomeness because you are awesome. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. If you're watching now, you can see what I'm going to do. I'm wearing headphones and I'm going to put my hands around those headphones, and we call them earmuffs because they look like earmuffs. So as if you were wearing actual earmuffs. And if you're just going to have your fingers be about 1 inch up from your ears and they're spread out. So you've got fingers all around your ears and your thumbs. Now, I can't do the thumb because I have these earmuffs on, but you're going to slide your thumb into that little hollow that's right behind the ear flap. And if you just slide your thumb right into that, you'll feel it. If you open your mouth and close your mouth, there's a hinge there. And the thumb is going to go there and the fingers are going to go around. And you're just going to hold there. And what that does is energetically calms that habit system, that triple warmer, that fight, flight, or freeze energy. It just calms it down. It just calms it down. So you're going to hold your hands there around your ears. And now you're going to say your affirmation. You can look in a mirror. If you look at yourself right in the eyes and say an affirmation, it's really powerful. You can say it in your head. You can be could you be in a car at a stop sign or a stoplight, maybe, as long as you have your eyes open? You can really do this anywhere. So you're going to have your hands in this place, arrayed around your ears. And the fingers are kind of pressed into the head, like you want to feel something. You're not just like lightly holding. You're kind of pressing in. And now you're going to say your affirmations. I am an incredible podcaster. I love podcasting. Everything I say is valuable and valid. I am joyful. Now you try it. Think of 3 things that you want to happen in your life, that you want to manifest, that you want to be true for you, an affirmation, and say it out loud right now. Now take a deep breath in the nose and exhale out the mouth. And now you're going to take your hand, and as if you were smoothing your ears, a kind of pinning your hair behind your ears, you're just going to smooth back 3 times. And you can say your affirmations again, doing it that way if you like. And then just shake your hands off. And if you want to end it even more powerfully, you can put one hand on top of the other over the heart and just say, thank you. This is now my new reality. There you go. That's the energy medicine and energy medicine yoga way of doing affirmations.
I love that. It is because I think I can only imagine everyone listening to this has had some kind of mixed experience with affirmations, right? Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. And for that reason, like you said, it's hard to believe them. Sometimes you're trying to say something to yourself and it's like the other half of yourself is like, I don't know about that. I can't really say something that I don't believe is true. So it's a wonderful technique, these kind of earmuffs with your hands to calm down that other voice so you can insert in the truth. I love it. So I hope everybody tries it. And you can do it as many times a day as you want, whenever you want, looking in the mirror, not looking in the mirror. You do have both your hands not on a steering wheel. They're up.
Yeah, that was not good. Don't do it driving.
Kind of like in a circle around behind your ears. So don't try to drive with your knee or something and do it. But other than that, it's a truly wonderful technique. And if you do it, we would love to hear from you. So just pop something in the comments, either if this is the audio version or if you're on YouTube with the video version, just pop any question you have or your experience with this in the comments, because we'd love to hear how it works for you.
Awesome. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we can't wait to hear your experience with this. Take it out into the world and share it so that we all feel deeply better, which is what we all want. We want to feel good. We want to feel happy. We want to feel joyful. So spread it out.
That's right. Inner critic, stand down. Everybody have a wonderful rest of your day, and thanks for listening and watching.
Bye.
Alrighty, energy fans, that's a wrap on another positively charged episode of Energy Works. Lauren, this is the part where we get to use our energy puns.
It's been electrifying, hasn't it, Blaine? We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have.
If you're feeling amped up and you want to keep your energy flowing, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform.
And we'd love to hear from you, so please take a moment to leave us a review. Your feedback helps us continue to deliver content that resonates, so light up our inbox.
And spark a conversation with your friends to tell them about us. And we'll see you next time on Energy Works.